What would you think of a man who seemed impossible to kill? A man whose very presence could sway the fate of empires, and whose name still echoes through history as both a saint and a sinner. Grigori Rasputin, a name synonymous with mysticism, controversy, and resilience, remains one of the most enigmatic figures of all time. Today we embark on an immersive journey into his life. Who was this man truly? Was he a gifted mystic, a cunning manipulator, or something altogether more extraordinary? Let's unravel the legend together, piece by piece. Our story begins in the frost-bitten expanse of Siberia, in the remote village of Pokrovskoye. Born in 1869, Grigori Rasputin entered a world shaped by harsh winters and tougher lives. His family, simple peasants, worked tirelessly to survive in this unforgiving land. But even as a child, Rasputin stood out. Villagers whispered about his unsettlingly piercing gaze and odd behavior. At just 12 years old, he reportedly had a vision that led him to correctly accuse a man of stealing a horse, a claim that turned out to be true. This event marked the start of his reputation as someone attuned to the spiritual and the mysterious. Life in Siberia wasn't easy. Hunger, disease, and death were constant companions. Rasputin's family suffered significant losses, with many of his siblings dying young. These early experiences, coupled with the harsh environment, shaped his resilience and perhaps his ability to connect with others on a deeply emotional level. But not all of his youth was marked by mysticism. Rasputin earned a reputation as a troublemaker, a man prone to drinking, brawling, and chasing women. Yet, even in his most reckless moments, there was something about him that captivated those around him. Rasputin's life took a pivotal turn in 1897. Leaving behind his wife and children, he embarked on a spiritual journey, walking over 700 kilometers to the monastery of Verkhoturya. Here, he hoped to find meaning and redemption. While at the monastery, Rasputin encountered a starets, or holy elder, whose ascetic lifestyle deeply influenced him. Yet Rasputin wasn't content with monastic life. The rigid discipline clashed with his fiery spirit. He left, determined to forge his own spiritual path. Upon his return, Rasputin adopted the role of a wandering pilgrim. He traveled across Russia, preaching, praying, and gaining a small but devoted following. His charisma, combined with his intense, hypnotic eyes, left an indelible mark on those he encountered. By 1905, Rasputin had become a figure of intrigue among the Russian elite. His reputation as a mystic and healer reached the Romanov family, desperate for a miracle to save their son, Tsarevich Alexei, who suffered from hemophilia. Rasputin's introduction to the family marked a turning point in his life and in Russian history. When Alexei fell gravely ill, Rasputin was summoned. Through prayer and what some speculate to be hypnosis, he managed to calm the boy's symptoms, astonishing the imperial family. To Tsarina Alexandra, Rasputin was no mere man. He was a divine messenger sent to protect her son. She placed unwavering faith in him, granting him unprecedented access to the royal court. While Alexandra saw Rasputin as a savior, others were less convinced. His critics pointed to his unkempt appearance, his greasy hair, filthy robes, and unwashed body as evidence of his unworthiness. Stories circulated about his womanizing and rumored participation in debauched rituals. Rasputin's dual nature fascinated and repelled in equal measure. To his followers, he was a spiritual guide offering redemption through sin, a belief rooted in the teachings of fringe sects like the Klisti. To his enemies, he was a dangerous fraud, exploiting the Romanovs for power and wealth. As Rasputin's influence grew, so did the animosity against him. His sway over Alexandra allowed him to meddle in political affairs, advising on appointments and dismissals of key officials. Critics accused him of using his position for personal gain and blamed him for Russia's mounting troubles during World War I. His enemies in the aristocracy saw him as a destabilizing force, a symbol of everything wrong with the Romanov regime. In December 1916, a group of nobles decided that Rasputin had to be eliminated. Led by Prince Felix Yusupov, they lured him to a palace under the pretense of a social gathering. What followed is the stuff of legend. Rasputin was poisoned with cyanide-laced wine and cakes, but to their astonishment, he showed no signs of illness. Frustrated, Yusupov shot him in the chest. Incredibly, Rasputin staggered to his feet and attempted to flee. The conspirators shot him multiple times, beat him, and finally bound his body and threw it into the icy Neva River. When his corpse was recovered days later, water in his lungs suggested he was still alive when he hit the freezing water. This chilling revelation only added to his mythos. Even in death, Rasputin's story refused to fade. His prophecies, foreseeing the fall of the Romanov dynasty and the Russian Revolution, cemented his reputation as a mystic. His life inspired countless books, films, and conspiracy theories, each adding layers to his legend. But who was the real Rasputin? A misunderstood mystic? A cunning manipulator? Or perhaps something even stranger? As time goes on, history often takes on a new shape, and Rasputin's story is no exception. Recent studies and documentaries have sought to uncover the deeper truths behind his mysticism, political influence, and extraordinary resilience. For instance, some researchers now argue that Rasputin's supposed healing abilities could be explained by medical and psychological factors. Hypnosis, a practice gaining traction in the early 20th century, may have played a key role in alleviating Tsarevich Alexei's hemophilia symptoms. By calming both Alexei and his worried mother, Tsarina Alexandra, Rasputin might have reduced the physical effects of stress on the boy's fragile condition. Additionally, a 2023 documentary raised an intriguing hypothesis. Was Rasputin deliberately manipulating his own image to heighten his mystique? Scholars have suggested that his unkempt appearance and claims of divine visions were carefully curated to resonate with both peasants and the deeply spiritual Russian aristocracy. What do you think? Was Rasputin a master of psychological manipulation, or were his powers truly otherworldly? Let us know in the comments. To truly understand Rasputin's rise, we must delve into the spiritual and cultural climate of Imperial Russia. The early 20th century was a time of great upheaval, with industrialization clashing against deeply rooted traditions. Amid this turbulence, many Russians sought solace in mysticism and folk spirituality. The Orthodox Church held immense sway over daily life, but it wasn't without competition. Wandering holy men like Rasputin, known as starets, offered an alternative connection to the divine. These figures often performed miracles, preached simplicity, and claimed to possess spiritual gifts. Rasputin, however, stood out. Unlike many of his peers, he didn't just attract rural followers, he captivated the Romanovs themselves. His ability to navigate both the peasant world and the aristocracy was nothing short of remarkable. Yet this raises a question. Was Rasputin simply a product of his time? Or was he a disruptor in a society on the brink of revolution? Here's a thought. What if Rasputin's story could inspire ideas for the future? His life is often seen as a tale of mysticism and scandal, but it's also a case study in influence and resilience. Imagine a future where figures like Rasputin are no longer human, but AI-driven advisors, equipped with predictive algorithms to heal societal ailments. Could the digital age give rise to a new kind of mystic, one powered by data and code? Or consider this. Rasputin's legendary survival skills could inspire advancements in medical science. Researchers might study his body's alleged resistance to poison and trauma to develop technologies that enhance human durability. What futuristic Rasputin-inspired innovation intrigues you the most? Share your theories below. Rasputin isn't the only figure in history to blend mysticism with political influence. Around the world, countless legends echo elements of his story. Take India's Sai Baba of Shirdi, a spiritual leader revered for his supposed miracles and healing abilities. Like Rasputin, Sai Baba attracted both admiration and skepticism, creating a complex legacy. Similarly, Japan's Yamabushi monks, known for their ascetic practices and rumored supernatural powers, bear striking similarities to the Russian starets tradition. Could these parallels point to a universal human fascination with mystics who claim to bridge the gap between the earthly and the divine? Let's hear your thoughts. Do you know of other figures who remind you of Rasputin? Rasputin's legacy has transcended history, making its way into modern pop culture. From the catchy 1970s Boney M song Rasputin to his portrayal in films like The King's Man, his story continues to captivate audiences. But why does Rasputin still resonate today? Perhaps it's because his story speaks to timeless questions. What drives human ambition? Can charisma alone alter history? And how do we separate myth from reality? Among Rasputin's most mysterious legacies are his prophecies. Though many of his predictions have been dismissed as coincidences or fabrications, some remain eerily prescient. In a letter written shortly before his death in late 1916, Rasputin predicted the downfall of the Romanovs, connecting it to his own fate. He wrote, "If I am killed by commoners, you, Tsar of Russia, have nothing to fear for your children. But if it is your relatives who have brought about my death, none of your family will remain alive for more than 2 years." What makes this prophecy so haunting is that it came true. Just months after Rasputin's murder by royal conspirators, Tsar Nicholas II abdicated, and in 1918, the entire Romanov family was executed by Bolsheviks. But Rasputin's prophecies didn't end there. Some believe he foresaw World War II, predicting that a great war will arise from the ashes of Russia. While skeptics argue that such statements are vague, others see them as evidence of a man connected to something beyond human understanding. Did Rasputin have true foresight, or was he simply an astute observer of his time? The truth remains as elusive as the man himself. Rasputin's story is inseparable from the Russian Revolution, a seismic event that reshaped the world. Many historians argue that his presence in the Romanov court symbolized the disconnect between the ruling elite and the people they governed. For the Russian public, Rasputin became a scapegoat for the empire's failures. His influence over Tsarina Alexandra fueled rumors of German espionage, given her German heritage, and deepened public distrust of the monarchy. The aristocracy, too, saw him as a threat. His meddling in politics was perceived as not just harmful, but emblematic of a regime in decay. By the time of his assassination, Rasputin was more than a man. He was a symbol of everything wrong with Imperial Russia. Yet, in the rural villages of Siberia, Rasputin was remembered differently. To many peasants, he was a martyr, a man who had risen from their ranks to challenge the oppressive aristocracy. Even today, opinions about Rasputin vary widely, reflecting the fractured legacy of his life. The details of Rasputin's death have sparked endless speculation. How did he survive poison, gunshots, and beatings before finally succumbing to drowning? Could there be a scientific explanation for his remarkable endurance? Some researchers suggest that the cyanide used in his assassination may have degraded, rendering it ineffective. Others hypothesize that his robust Siberian constitution and years of exposure to harsh conditions made him unusually resilient. Then there's the theory that Rasputin's legendary survival was exaggerated by his assassins. According to this view, Prince Felix Yusupov and his co-conspirators embellished the story to make their actions seem more heroic and to frame Rasputin as almost supernatural, a fitting foe for their narrative. But the legend persists, fueling debates about the boundaries of human endurance and the power of myth. Could Rasputin's death hold lessons for modern medicine, or is it simply a tale woven from fear and imagination? Throughout this journey, we've uncovered the many facets of Rasputin's life, from his humble beginnings to his infamous death. But his story doesn't end here. It lives on in the theories and debates sparked by curious minds like yours. What part of Rasputin's story fascinates you most? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you've enjoyed this exploration, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video to keep the discussion going. Let's unravel history's mysteries together. Who knows what we'll discover next?